Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. And I know everybody is wondering what happened, what changed this space that we have, and from Miss Diana to my safe space. And today I am with the lady who is behind my transformation, my rebranding, and she is the coordinator of IAWRT. And let her introduce herself to us. Welcome so much.
Thank you, Deborah.
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Racheal
Mm-hmm.
Nakitare,
Mm-hmm.
a broadcast journalist of many years,
Yes.
working with the national broadcaster,
Mm-hmm.
but again, a coordinator of the International Association of Women in Radio
Mm-hmm.
and Television,
Mm-hmm.
which is an organization
Mm-hmm.
that works to build the capacities of women journalists
Mm-hmm.
so that they, in turn,
Mm-hmm.
are able to mainstream gender issues
Mm-hmm.
and to amplify the voices of women on
Mm-hmm.
the digital platforms.
Wow. Thank
Yes.
you so much. And I'm really proud to be part of this program. And also, a reason why we have even a rebrand on my YouTube channel. So today, I just want us to expound more on what really IWAT does in the country, and what we know, or what maybe most people don't know, is it amplifies voices, women voices, and also trains and mentors young journalists.
Mhm.
Maybe you can just expound more on that, on how many young journalists you have been able to reach, and what are more plans you have for these guys or these young ladies that you have already mentored.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, we are proud to share the skills that we have acquired over the years
Mm-hmm.
because we realize that there's a gap
Mm-hmm.
in terms of what is theoretically trained
Mm-hmm.
to journalists and
Mm-hmm.
what happens in the field.
Mm-hmm.
When we trained, we were so thorough. We went through real broadcast training. That time there was only one institution,
Uh-huh.
the Kenya Institute of Mass Communication.
Mm-hmm.
And when we got to KBC, there was only one broadcaster again. There was only the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation,
Yes.
then called VOK.
Mm-hmm.
And when we got there, we
Mm-hmm.
were actually shocked. You're used to you working with your script, you're thorough, you have all the time, you will research, and you get there and you're being told this has to be done in an hour. And you just have to
Wow.
think on your feet and run around. So we realized some of those challenges, if people are not ready with them,
Yes.
for them, they
Mm-hmm.
kind of pull back
Mm-hmm.
and step out of the profession, go for
True.
softer bits like public relations and so
Mm-hmm.
on. So
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that we've done as IWAT
Mm-hmm.
is to work with universities, public universities.
Mm-hmm.
And this, we are very, very grateful to the US Embassy in Nairobi,
Mm-hmm.
who have been supportive, who have supported us for the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
We have churned out more than 150, or rather, worked with more than 150 students as at
Wow.
now,
Mm-hmm.
about 115 to be precise.
Mm-hmm.
But now, broadly, because this sometimes spirals to others who are not even in
Yes.
the project.
Yes.
So, what we do is we work out a program.
Mm-hmm.
We identify the thematic areas.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of the areas we work with are media ethics,
Mm-hmm.
leadership,
Mm-hmm.
safety of women journalists,
Mm-hmm.
and digital media,
Yes.
among others. But of course, along the way, we
Mm-hmm.
also let them identify the areas we want us to deal with, and we go into those.
Mm-hmm.
We work with 12
Mm-hmm.
seasoned
Mm-hmm.
women journalists
Mm-hmm.
across all media
Mm-hmm.
in the country, and each one of them is given a number of students per year. So we just work with them.
Mm-hmm.
We identify those that have are strong in broadcast, we align them with broadcasters.
Mm-hmm.
Those that are strong in print, we align them with the print with the writers.
Mm-hmm.
Those that are strong on digital, we align them with the digital people.
Mm-hmm.
And so we work with them. We ensure that they first are able to identify their niche, and
Mm-hmm.
once they do that, then we begin to guide them in the same line. We
Mm-hmm.
ensure that we also work with the chaperones from the universities,
Mm-hmm.
so that we are not crossing each other's path. For example, we are not being tricked to do assignments for students, so we ensure that we stick
Uh-huh.
on our line.
Mm-hmm.
Check with them all the time when the students need help,
Mm-hmm.
to be sure that it's help that will not interfere with the
Sure.
school program.
Sure.
This has been tremendous in
Mm-hmm.
that we see the results real time. We
Mm-hmm.
see
Mm-hmm.
girls who could not initially write even a paragraph,
Mm-hmm.
writing and publishing in
Mm-hmm.
newspapers, all the major newspapers
Mm-hmm.
in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them coming up with blogs, some of them coming up with YouTube channels.
Sure.
Everybody just trying to do what they're good at the
Sure.
best way that they can.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
this has been very, very helpful.
Wow. Thank you
Yeah,
so
so
much.
that's as far as the mentorship is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Then, in terms of amplifying the voices of women, because then
Mm-hmm.
this requires people that are already
Practicing.
practicing.
Yes.
and especially people working around women, because you know, sometimes you read our news and you watch our screens and it's just politics. Yet there's so many stories,
Very true.
many human interest stories, people living stories that can be shared by everybody. So what we did is we identified Bungoma as a niche area.
True.
Particularly because of the standings in terms of, you look at issues of gender-based violence, Bungoma is up there. You look at gaps in terms of women leadership, Bungoma is up there.
True.
You know, they do, people from Bungoma do not quite hold women in high regard, much as we've had so many women that have come from this community. A point in time is like Nancy Baraza, you know, the first woman DCJ.
Yes.
You know, and she just disappeared into oblivion.
True.
Other communities will come up and fight for the people.
True,
You look across the country, other places you'll find women have been elected initially as women representatives, now governors, now
yes,
members of parliament, you know, taking different roles. So we thought there's so many strong women down here that may not who have not been identified, partly because we don't know about it. We don't even get to read about them. And so we said we will work with the female journalists in Bungoma just to try to help them identify the strengths of gender-sensitive reporting, where we pull out some of the issues that are pertinent to women in the community. We pull out some of these very strong women and what they're able to do to be able to work as role models for young girls that are growing up.
Sure.
And so we've been working with them just and we focused on digital media for them, because we realize that's also a weak point.
Yes.
The future of work, not just in Kenya but in the world, is technology.
True, very true.
Yeah, and so if that is where we're going, so where are we? And where are our journalists, especially our female journalists? So we said for Bungoma and for trying to amplify the voices of women, we'll take a very special focus on the digital platforms or the use of technology, so that instead of shying off from technology where they feel it's just a platform that is used to abuse them, they embrace it and look at it as an opportunity that can help them grow professionally.
Yes. So you've said you're using the digital space more on most of these trainings and all that. How do you keep track of these young journalists, or both in school and in the field? Because I've attended maybe not even IAWRT programs, online programs, but you find someone can log into a meeting and they leave their phone there and they go on doing whatever they're doing. Just their presence is there, but they are not there. How do you keep track of these programs to make sure that they are being implemented back here in Bungoma County?
That is a very good question.
Yes.
One of the things that we do is we engage with these journalists online at least once every month through a webinar on a topic of discussion. We also try to follow up to see from the stories that they are doing, because we do not want to derail them. Of course, they're also employed and the employers have the expectations. But among the stories that you have done in a month, how many have focused on women?
Sure.
And how many of and how have you used the digital space? For example, if you've done a radio story, how have you ensured that this radio story is also received on the digital platforms? Because you have Facebook, you can post it there. You have Twitter from the stories that you've from the story that you have done. Can we get highlights shared on your Twitter platform so that we know what you're doing? So we may, and it's the easiest thing to actually track is the digital platforms, because somebody, it doesn't matter what they say, you will actually be able to follow them. So one of the things we've done is we followed all the people that we're dealing with, you know, on all those platforms. So we'll know what they're doing at any given time. If we see it's a story of interest, we'll follow up individually and also just try to see what support they may require. And if they haven't, then of course we call them out to ask, so what are you doing? You know, so much as they have to, they're keeping on with their required work according to the editorial policies of the media houses, then they also just have to ensure that there's that 1/3, just as constitutional as it gets. Like there's that 1/3 that they also give to women.
Yes. Wow, that is a good initiative, and I think it's even a plus to Bungoma County, because I also once practiced as a journalist, and I remember in our times, every time you could hear a story from Bungoma, it has to be a negative story. Yes. But now through IAWRT, we have been able to understand that we can even champion positive stories, and they can be given airtime out there.
Exactly.
And I hope for my fellow journalists, we're not just doing it for IAWRT. We own this and know that as women, we have to be the ones to champion for our platforms and what we do. And
that is very good,
yes,
because you
yeah.
see, like Bungoma's deputy governor is a woman.
Yes.
And we don't get to hear as much about her as we should.
Yes.
Towards the campaign for 16 days of activism against violence against women last year, I think I saw her flag off some activities for those 16 days, and that is as much as I saw. We didn't follow up to see a lot of the things that she did. And I've heard her before. I think she's very passionate about issues about women. How do we amplify this voice? How do we support the work she's doing? Because it's not really supporting her. It is supporting our communities and the constituency of women to realize that they have the potential to actually give so much output to this county. Yeah, so that is the focus. So I'm glad that you look at it that way, that it's not for the project.
Yes.
It's for the community, and it's for yourself.
True.
What legacy do you leave for your community? What have you ever done that somebody will one day say, Deborah did this for the community? You know, Deborah taught me this. I was able to do a program that ensured that 5 children got a place in a school, for example, that ensured that women that did not have market for their produce were able to now get market and vent for their families or for their children. So I think the big question to them, my fellow journalists, is besides the salary you're looking for, what's your legacy in your community?
Very true. Racheal, as we wind up our interview, recently there's been a story about sex for jobs. And I also came to know or saw a conversation online that said it's not only even in the industry that was featured, it also happens in the media industry. And young girls are falling prey of it and deciding maybe that's the shortcut for them to be on screens and shortcut for them to have a brand name. As a veteran who has been in the industry for a number of years, what advice will you give to young girls?
Yeah, that I would talk up to tomorrow, Deborah. I'm telling you, that is a very, very sad situation. First, of course, issues of sex have been used to intimidate women journalists, and especially because of these online platforms.
Yes.
When people want to intimidate you to silence, they will come up with issues that may not even have happened, brand you, and want to silence you, because those are issues that that carry a lot of stigma, so nobody wants to talk about them. So that has been a weapon of intimidating women journalists. So my first call on women journalists: focus on professionalism. Forget about sideshows. If anybody wants to bring you down, do not fall prey. Fix your eyes on the prize, which is ethical journalism and practice as supposed to be. Then now to your question of accusations about falling prey. When working with these girls, some have actually asked those hard questions and said, how can I say no? And that is where my future lies. That is the only way to get that job. And we have always said, do not be coerced or intimidated to imagine that if you do not say yes to sexual advances, you will miss an opportunity. Never. As long as you're good and you're professional, even if that door closes, another door will open. You always have to, and as long as you know what is required of you, you do not allow yourself to be intimidated. It is very unfortunate that just last year, and I think next week, we may be launching a documentary that I was commissioned to do for the Association of Media Women in Kenya, to just establish issues of what you're talking about, sexual harassment in the media. It's unfortunate that it's actually there and it's rampant. But the most unfortunate bit is that nobody wants to talk about it. So many of the ladies shared the stories off the camera. When I asked them for interviews, they declined. Why? Because of the intimidation and because of the stigma and the risk of even losing the jobs that they have. But champions that we have talked to before that have had similar situations will tell you they said no to sexual violence. And even if they were shown the door, another door opened. Because they were professionals. Somebody recognized that they were doing a good job, that they're good writers, or they're good reporters, or they're good broadcasters. And so that is what actually defines you. These others are details and stories and sideshows that do not help. So my call to journalists is, I mean, you are a professional. Journalism, like I say, is a calling. Follow your heart and give it your best. Follow all the professional requirements carry out your research whenever you're supposed to carry out your research, carry out your interviews. When you're going for your interviews, if you fear that your sources are going to intimidate you, always have somebody with, make sure that you're secure. No story is worth your life. Make sure that your security comes first. Ensure that your stories are balanced as possible. Thank God now there are phones. You don't need to go and meet somebody physically.
Yes.
Call them, write to them, just look for responses in whichever way, and ensure that you stick to being professional. Some are exaggerated, but the risks are real. We live in a society. We don't live in isolation. So whatever happens, whatever we cover about also happens to us. The only unfortunate bit is that sometimes journalists want to behave like they're supernatural, like this doesn't happen, or if I cry out, then I will look weak, or it will be blown out of proportion, and so it will become a mega story as opposed to the others. I think we need to just be human and know that if we make mistakes, people make mistakes.
Yes.
We are able to recognize those mistakes and work on them, but never allow ourselves to be misused, to be intimidated, or to be coerced into things that would otherwise not believe in, just because you want to keep your job.
Wow. Racheal, I know there are a number of journalists who might not have been part of the program who will watch this, and they are wondering, is there an opportunity for them to join maybe IAWRT as members?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Maybe you can talk about that as we close up.
Yes.
Yes.
IAWRT is actually an international organization. We have membership in just across the globe in almost 54 countries, but we have 14 chapters, Kenya being one of them. Others in Africa are Uganda, Tanzania, Cameroon, South Africa, and lately Ethiopia. And so coming down to Kenya, we allow all media professionals, women in the media, be it print, broadcast, and online. Now we're actually opening it up even to academia, because there needs to be very close correlationship between academia and the practice, so that some of the researches that are done by the academias are also used or utilized by professionals. And that's why we even had a webinar on data journalism. So every woman in the media, in the communication field, is welcome to join IAWRT. You can write to us. You can check us out on our website, iawrt.org, which is the international, or iawrt.or.ke, which is the Kenya chapter, and you'll find the application form on there. And just put in your application. It's very clear on what you need to write. Put it on there, send it to us. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. If not, this is what we're talking about, digital. Check us out, LinkedIn. Look for my LinkedIn. Look for my Facebook profile. Look for, look for you. And as a member, you can actually use other members. Like now, those that are in Bungoma, we've dealt with over 20 journalists. We expect that there are more.
Yes.
Get in touch with any of them, and they can always get in touch with us.
Wow.
And you are welcome. We want to actually work with fellow journalists. We want to share. It's not even about us mentoring. Mentorship is two-way. We want to learn from you in terms of what you're experiencing, because times have also changed. Media is very dynamic. There are things that may be so new that those of us who've been in the profession for a long time need to learn from the young turks. So it's two-way. So feel welcome to join IAWRT. Let us work together. Let's identify our challenges, our opportunities, and maximize on what we're able to do as a team.
Wow. Guys, don't you think it was worthwhile rebranding this whole YouTube channel to My Safe Space? And I'll be linking the IAWRT website link on our description box. Make sure you click and join the conversation online. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure you subscribe, you comment, you like, and you share with your community, so that we all join the Safe Space community. Thank you so much.